Diamond P Sports presents championship drag racing from the National Hot Rod Association. The 1981 Spring Nationals. Brought to you by Goodyear Eagle High Performance Radials, the Racing Eagles Goodyear tamed for the streets, and by McGuire's Lifetime Poly Sealant System, tough polymer protection for your car and a deep, deep shine in one easy step. And by Suzuki the Performer. See the full line of Suzuki motorcycles at your local Suzuki dealer. This is National Trail Raceway, located on the historic cross-country highway known as the National Trail, about 25 miles east of Columbus, Ohio. This is the site of the 17th running of the NHRA Spring Nationals Championships, attracting some 600 race cars from throughout the United States and Canada. Qualifying's been going on for several days as the drivers attempt to make the final fields that will battle for a total purse of over $300,000 in cash and awards. A spectacular engine explosion and fire called a halt to the qualifying attempts of Neil Marr, and the one thing that racers and officials alike find impossible to deal with: rain invaded National Trail. A massive series of thunderstorms and tornadoes moved through the mid-Ohio area, causing the thousands of fans to wait and wonder what was going to happen to the final day of racing. The word from NHRA and National Trail officials not long in coming: no chance for racing this weekend. We'll have to wait until next week. The slogan of this Spring Nationals is probably best expressed by a t-shirt: I survived the swamp, 1981. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClellan, and for the second week in a row, the racers, NHRA, and Diamond P Sports back at National Trail Raceway. The heavy rains have caused some questions about track conditions. Working with me is Steve Evans. He files this report.
Dave, when this light turns green here at National Trail Raceway, you're battling more than just your opponent. You're also fighting ever-changing track conditions. After a one-week rain delay, the racers came back to a totally different racetrack than they qualified on. In time trials yesterday, they fought smoking the tires all day long. The decision was made to scrape this racetrack during the night. They actually heated the rubber up and scraped it all off. Now the big question is, how do you come to the starting line? With a lot of horsepower, or do you back off? We asked some top names. Billy Williams, as the #1 qualifier, you've obviously got a whole lot of horsepower, but what about the racetrack? Give me your feelings on the surface today.
Well, it's going to be anybody's race, I think, just because of the racetrack itself. Yesterday it was balling up really bad, and it was people couldn't get down the track, and horsepower isn't going to be what it takes to win the race, I don't believe.
The car that figured out the racetrack would probably win the race, so it's more than critical. The track yesterday was terrible, and the heat and humidity is affecting the racetrack as it affects our engines.
Don, let's talk about the racetrack itself for a second. Yesterday, it obviously was not good. It's been scraped during the night. You have to make a decision.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like pulling in here for the first time for the event and running the race without any practice or anything. It's a whole new surface out there, so all of us guys are up in a turmoil right now, trying to figure out what to do, Steve.
What's your decision? Do you go up soft, conservative, or do you just go after it?
No, absolutely not. No, we'll go after it. We'll just go all the way and run it as hard as we possibly can and hope that that it sticks, that the tires don't smoke, and that the engine's tuned right, and we win the race.
Even though you've crossed the finish line, the battle is not yet over. Should you have a parachute failure, as Kerry Swigert did in Top Fuel qualifying, your chances of stopping the car before you reach the catch net, are very slim. Swigert demonstrated the ideal way to attack this net. Hit it head-on, as straight as possible, and you'll do minimal damage to the car, and the driver will almost always walk away. A couple of $1,000s worth of damage to Swigert's automobile, but he's just fine.
Steve, a very lucky man is Kerry Swigert, but back at the starting line under more threatening clouds, the Top Fuel drivers are getting ready for the first round of racing. We'll be back in a moment.
At Suzuki, we believe performance is more than an awesome display of power. More than precise handling. More than superb fuel economy. And more than comfort and reliability. At Suzuki, we believe performance is all of these things. That's why Suzuki bikes are all-around performers.
If there's one tire that dominates America's racetracks, it's Goodyear's Racing Eagles. And now we've tamed our Eagles for the streets as a new line of high-performance radios. Eagle NCT, our ultimate performance radio. Eagle GT, already chosen as the optional radial on the 1981 Corvette. Eagle ST, with performance that belies its price. The Eagles, tamed for the streets, but far from tame.
It's taken 2 long weeks to get here, but the final eliminations are finally underway at the Spring Nationals in Top Fuel Eliminator. Our first pair of cars finds Jim Bernard from Portland, Oregon, driving the Northwind. Bernard, somewhat of a surprise qualifier. He normally does not travel out of the Northwest that much, but here he is racing against David Pace, driver for the Carroll brothers from Dallas, Texas. If you followed drag racing any period of time, you know the name the Carroll brothers. They date back some 20 years in this sport, starting and continuing from their Dallas, Texas home base. Pace, the latest in a series of fine drivers for the Carroll brothers. He's ready to go. His burnouts and preparations are over. So is Bernard, and they're approaching the starting line. Leaving the line together, some smoke off of Jim Bernard's tires. It's a close race at this point. And at the finish line, Jim Bernard wins it, but wait, David Pace is recorded as the winner by the electronic win judge. Let's go back and watch again and see if we can find exactly what happened. They leave the starting line side by side. You see a little smoke off of Bernard's car in the far lane. He begins to move from the straight track. Now it appears they're side by side. And at the finish line, it appears that Bernard gets there first, but yet the win judge indicates that David Pace won the race. We'll try to check on this as racing continues and get back with a story on just what happened on this race between Jim Bernard and David Pace. Our next pair at the starting line already fired. Their burnouts are finished, and this is the world champion, Shirley Muldowney. She won it last season, the only person ever to win 2 Top Fuel world titles. She's racing against Marvin Graham, now living in California, a former Spring Nationals, a former national champion. Graham and partner Mark Danikas have been very successful this season, as has Shirley Muldowney. She just won the last major event, the Cajun Nationals down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Graham against Muldowney here at the Spring Nationals at National Trail Raceway. The track appears to be in good shape, and it is Shirley Muldowney out with the lead. And at the finish line, a quick time, Shirley Muldowney, 5.92 seconds. Her speed over 243 miles an hour and no parachute, but there it finally comes out for Marvin Graham. So he brings his car to a bouncing halt as Shirley rolls her way around into the turnoff area. Shirley winning the first round match against Marvin Graham. The crew watching to make sure everything is okay. Then heading down track, her son John Muldowney and crew chief Ron Tobler going down to pick up Shirley, who's with Steve Evans.
Well, you had a beautiful driving job. You left first. Your impressions of the racetrack now. It was kind of an unknown quantity going up.
Well, yesterday we had some conditions. You know, the racetrack wasn't really up to par, but we knew that Steve Gibbs would do the job and make it the way it was last week.
No wheel stand.
No wheel stand this time. Racetrack's excellent.
They say first round is the toughest emotionally. Is that true for you?
Yes, your guts kind of go crazy, but once you get by first round, every racer out there thinks they have it won.
Okay, Shirley Muldowney, who has won this race 3 times more than anybody, goes back to the pit area with a win light here in round 1.
Steve, a very happy Shirley Muldowney as she may well be on her way to another Spring Nationals title. Meantime, we've had a chance to check on the David Pace Jim Bernard race, and as we watch in slow motion, we see Bernard's car cross the finish line first. But from another angle on our Diamond P Sports cameras, you see that Bernard crossed the finish line with his wheels in the air. David Pace broke the light beam, and he won the race. The light beam is the finish line. Our next pair of dragsters doing their long and smoky burnouts to heat the tires. This pairing finds Jody Smart, one of the rising new stars in Top Fuel Racing from San Antonio, Texas, against Butch Osmond, now driving for Jim and Allison Lee of the Plains, Virginia. Smart is in the near lane, Butch Osmond in the far lane. The burnouts are over, and now the drivers begin their series of concentration on the Christmas tree. That electronic device that simultaneously will send both cars down the racetrack with a green light if they leave on time. Osmond against Smart. We're in the first round of Top Fuel Racing at the Spring Nationals, and Butch Osmond with a bit of a hole shot. It looked like he got off the starting line just a little bit ahead of Jody Smart, and he played it to the win. 6.12 seconds is elapsed time. His speed over 229 miles an hour, and a big win for Butch Osmond. The weather beginning to threaten even worse as the NHRA officials picking up the pace. The next pair of cars fired and ready to run. Gary Beck, two-time national champion, a former world champion. He'll be racing Rob Bruins, also a former world champion from Bremerton, Washington. Bruins, along with Gaines Markley, the car owner and crew chief, will be in the far lane. Gary Beck will be in the near lane as they approach the starting line. The electronic light beams across the starting line, very similar to those at the finish, set very low to the ground, and as you saw on our Diamond P Sports cameras, Jim Menard's car just going right over the light beam. But right now, all attention focused on the starting line as Gary Beck, driving for Larry Minor, trying to break out of his slump. He's against the former world champion, Rob Bruins, and Gary Beck pulls away to a victory. The crew quite pleased, knowing they got some work to do between rounds. But as we watch again, you see Gary Beck built up his lead right off the starting line, and he held it as Rob Bruins had difficulty keeping the car in a straight line. The more you deviate from that straight track, the longer it takes you to get to the finish line, and that's what's important. Gary Beck winning this race to advance to round number 2. Rob Bruins taking off his helmet, does not appear to be too dejected. He's headed over at a dead run to help out. Yes, it is Gary Beck helping him get his car off the racetrack. The crew keeping the pace on as the weather beginning to threaten more and more here at National Trail. We were rained out a week ago, and the sky's not looking good right now as Dennis Baca from Concord, California gets ready to go. He is a former national champion. He'll be racing against Johnny Abbott out of Denver, Colorado. Abbott, having been in this sport almost 2 decades, has yet to win his first national event title, and he wants it here. A strong burnout by Abbott. The burnout designed to heat up those tires that are about 18 inches wide. They use very little air pressure. Some problems over on Baca's car. You can hear it, and it comes to a halt. The motor dies after the burnout, and Dennis Baca is out of competition. Johnny Abbott headed back to the starting line under his own power, but some manpower being used here to move back Dennis Baca's 1,800-pound dragster. When that 2,000-horsepower dragster engine comes to a halt, you got to move it by the manpower. Johnny Abbott acknowledges his crewman's indication of a single run. He gets ready to go. Johnny Abbott out of Denver, Colorado with a big break here in round number 1. Abbott trying as he can against the tree and also down the track. He is going to make a hard run as the lane choice in the next round will be decided by the elapsed time of the previous round. He just notched a fine 6.01 seconds. That's the amount of time it takes to go from a standing start at the starting line, 1,320 feet to the finish line. And it's a slow run for Dennis Baca without power except by his truck to pull him off the track, and a tough break for a very tough competitor. Johnny Abbott taking off his helmet, checking over his engine, and removing the fire suit as he's got some work, but not that much to do before he's ready for round number 2. We're still in round number 1 action, and here is the reigning national champion from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, comes Terry Kapp, the wheeler dealer. It was just last Labor Day weekend that Terry Kapp won it all at the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis. There's another man that's been in the winner's circle, Connie Kalita, the owner of a flying service, a racer on the weekend, and he thinks he's got troubles. He's calling for starter Buster Couch and his crew to come look at the engine to make sure everything is okay, as they had to shut off Kalita in qualifying several times, and Kalita wanted to make sure this time nothing was wrong. It is Connie Kalita against Terry Kapp. Kapp will be in the near lane. Kalita concentrating on that starting line device, the Christmas tree. He is in the far lane. Both drivers inching into the staging beams. It's a green light, and it's Terry Kapp off first. But Connie Kalita is right with him at the finish line by a car length. Terry Kapp with a fine 5.98 second elapsed time. His speed over 219 miles an hour. Terry Kapp, the reigning national champion, wins his first round race, and he's got a leg up to possibly this Spring Nationals title. Running them faster than I've seen them in a long time. NHRA officials trying to beat the rain. This is the #1 qualifier, Billy Williams. He's from California, but he drives the Columbus, Ohio car of Jake Coughlin against Mark Oswald. From Wyoming, Ohio, the team of Oswald, Thomas, and Cattleman. They spent a lot of work this past winter getting this car as light as possible, so the 2,000 horsepower plus engine puts it down the racetrack, hopefully ahead of Billy Williams. Williams, having won everything possible in Pro Comp racing, that's the sportsman categories of drag racing, has advanced to Top Fuel, and Jake Coughlin's car had set a new track record in qualifying. He's off the line with Mark Oswald side by side, and something goes wrong. Mark Oswald with a freebie. He wins it on a big break, 6.14 seconds. His speed, 234 miles an hour. And as we watch again, you see Billy Williams. He makes a very nice move off the starting line, but could not hold on as something broke, and Mark Oswald wins.
Well, the #1 qualifier jinx seems to have struck again. Billy Williams breaking something at half track. Where were you when he broke?
I was about a half car length behind him, to tell you the truth. You know, I was glad to see it. Our car was shaking and spinning the tires a little bit, but other than that, it was all right.
So he just instantly disappeared, huh?
Yeah, he just instantly fell back.
A big crowd on hand this second weekend here at National Trail. They're keeping one eye on the weather, which is worsening, and the other eye is concentrating on one of the two cars in this final pair. It is Jeb Allen from Long Beach, California, the professional racer that has established the lowest elapsed time in the history of drag racing. Jeb did it earlier this season under the watchful eyes of the Diamond P Sports cameras, as he recorded a 5.62 second elapsed time at the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida. Jeb in the thick of the chase for the World Championship. He is racing against Jim Head of Sunbury, Ohio. Head, having worked his way up to Top Fuel Eliminator, starting in Competition Eliminator a few seasons ago, now driving one of the fastest accelerating cars in the world. The burnouts are completed for both drivers, approaching the starting line under the eye of the starter. When both cars are ready and set, starter Buster Couch will throw the switch that gives him the green light. It's Jeb Allen off first, but something breaks, and it is Jim Head who gets an easy ride in this first round. Jim Head, 6.27 seconds. His speed, 229 miles an hour. And for the third race in a row, a free ride as the competition breaks. Jim Head turns off. We'll be back with funny car racing in just a moment.
American cars used to be fat.
Now they're skinny.
Oil filters were fat too.
Then they went on a diet. But little engines run fast. They've got high piston speeds.
So it's really important to look after your car right.
Change the oil and put in a new Fram filter when you're supposed to.
A Fram filter doesn't cost much.
A new engine does.
But
the choice is yours. You can pay us now or pay us later.
Engine, unique 16-valve 4-stroke powerhouse. Suspension, multi-adjustable rear shocks. Aluminum swing-arm. And front air forks. Brakes, slotted discs. The machine, the new GS 1100. Another great performer from Suzuki.
We're at National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio for the NHRA Spring Nationals. I'm Dave McClelland along with Steve Evans, and we're getting set for the first round of funny car eliminations. NHRA officials and track officials both watching the weather. The forecast calls for an increasing chance of rain this afternoon, and everybody wants to get this race over. The funny cars, fiberglass creations, the fiberglass replica body nestled over the tubular chassis and the drivetrain, much the same as the Top Fuel dragsters. This pairing will find Kenny Bernstein of Dallas, Texas, back after a several-year layoff against Dale Armstrong of Torrance, California, who has quite a story.
A week ago, Californian Dale Armstrong rode out a funny car fire so hot that it completely burned up his fire suit. Look at this glove here. Burned off the parachutes, burned up the body, just about destroyed the car, but you look okay except for maybe a little wound on the nose there.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad at all. I just got a little plastic on my nose when the shield melted a little bit.
The safety equipment definitely works.
Oh, yeah, you can see it does. By looking at these gloves even, I don't even remember my hands being hot.
Okay, take us for a ride from the time the fire started. What happened?
Well, the car was a little bit lean, and it started going over the hill, as we say, and I drove a little farther, just a split second, and then I saw fire in the fire windows. And naturally, it just shut it off then, and I had already released the parachute, but it didn't seem to make any effect. It must have had a lot of fire behind the car, and it burned it off as soon as it came out. Well, the next thing I did is shut the fuel shut off, which is also a normal instinctive thing, and then reached over and set the fire bottles off. And then it was going backwards, and I couldn't see where I was. I thought I was going off the track sideways, but I was still going down the track, and it went up back onto the track and into the hay bales, and then it came to a stop.
But without a week's delay here, you'd have never been able to rebuild this car. What happened? How did you do it? You went to Pennsylvania?
Yeah, we're lucky. We're only based 4 hours out of here over in Oil City, Pennsylvania. And Mike has a shop over there, so we just hustled on home and worked at it all week and got it all back together.
Where'd you get another body?
Well, that's the body we had from last year. It's an old speed racer. It don't quite go as fast. Aerodynamically, it's not as good, and it's a little heavier, but it'll get us through this deal.
An incredible ride for Dale Armstrong in Mike Case's speed racer, but he's back, ready to match up against Kenny Bernstein in the first round of eliminations of this Spring Nationals Championship. Bernstein, having laid out of the sport for about 4 years, came back a couple of years ago with one of the finest operations in the business. He qualified extremely well here and is racing against Armstrong, trying to make his first Spring Nationals victory a reality. Armstrong and Bernstein close in the middle of the course. It's a close race with Kenny Bernstein pulling it out at the finish line. A fine elapsed time of 6.18 seconds. His speed over 238 miles an hour, using both parachutes to bring him to a safe stop. Bernstein, the winner over Dale Armstrong. As we watch again, we see both cars, when the tree goes green, they seem to leave together and stay that way until they get just about to the end of the quarter mile. And at that point, watch now for the strong charge by Kenny Bernstein. Here he comes, and he pulls it out over Dale Armstrong by just about a full car length. Bernstein coming to a halt, taking off his fire suit, waiting for the crew to make that some 3/4 of a mile trip down to pick him up. He takes his time and folds up his parachute and gets ready to head back to the pits as the next pair of cars do their burnouts. In the near lane, we have got Roy Harris out of Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. Harris out on his own this season after driving for a car owner last year. He is racing against Dale Poldy, who drives for his partner, Mike Hamby. Poldy in the War Eagle is located in the far lane. He does his final dry burnout as Roy Harris, the Pennsylvania-based entry, is in the near lane. Both cars now staged. The Christmas tree goes green, and it appears that Poldy has a little bit of advantage off the starting line. But at the finish, another close race, and Roy Harris pulls it out, 6.23 seconds, his speed over 233 miles an hour. The engine's already running in the next pair of cars as NHRA, ever fearful of the weather, trying to get this race over, and this is the 4-time world champion, Don the Snake Prudhomme of Granada Hills, California, the winningest racer ever in Top Fuel and Funny Car, against John Collins. Collins from Long Beach, California, driving a unique entry. That is a replica of a Datsun 280 ZX body. Sitting encased the roll cage and under the Dodge Omnibody is Don the Snake Prudhomme. We heard him earlier say he's going to try everything he's got to see if he can pull it out, but he's late off the starting line, and John Collins has built a big lead and extends it at the finish, and what an upset. John Collins defeating Don Prudhomme, 6.20 seconds at over 239 miles an hour, but that's where it counted, right at the starting line, as you saw John Collins just pull that big lead, and at that point it was all over for the Snake. Collins keeps right on going, and as you can see at the finish line, Don Prudhomme is nowhere to be seen.
John Collins has a big grin on his face, and it's well-deserved. Congratulations. When you beat that man, you've beaten the best.
I'll tell you, Steve, it's been a long week here for the last 10 days, and last week the car caught on fire on Thursday, and we destroyed our last engine. We got another motor in the car, and looks like it's going to work out pretty good right now.
In the near lane is the car of Roland Leong, the Hawaiian, driven by Mike Dunn. This is a second-generation drag racer. He is the son of the fireman himself, Jim Dunn. Mike Dunn is racing against Tom Anderson, who drives for Jim Ouimet. With an arrow pointing inside the cockpit to tell you where Tom Anderson resides, he is concentrating now on getting a good lead against young Mike Dunn. He is a 23-year-old racer. Dunn, the son of Jim Dunn out of La Mirada, California, and smoking the tires in Roland Leong's car. It's still a close race, but at the finish line by about a half a car length, Tom Anderson wins it, 6.37 seconds to 6.41 seconds for Dunn. Just 0.04 of a second separating these two cars in their elapsed times, as it is Tom Anderson winning. Right there, you saw the tires going up in smoke. That means he lost traction in Roland Leong's Hawaiian. For Tom Anderson, it looks like the motor starts to go away, but he holds on long enough to take the win. Our next pair, the Showtime Corvette of Tom Hoover out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Hoover, one of the true longtime greats of this sport. He's got a lot of savvy. He raced Top Fuel dragsters, then funny cars. He's been in it over 15 years. He's racing against the dean of funny car racers. That is Cheryl Greer from Warner Robins, Georgia, driving now the Sting of Larry Kugel. Greer has been down many a racetrack in his career, but he is one of the finest rides now with Larry Kugel. Tom Hoover, his 74-year-old father, serves as his crew chief, and they travel the country following the championship drag racing circuit. Closely matched off the starting line, Hoover pulling away immediately, and a big win for Tom Hoover. Both his parachutes out, the quickest elapsed time of the first round of racing, 6.12 seconds at over 226 miles an hour. It is Tom Hoover winning his first round match against Cheryl Greer. It is really getting dark. We're beginning to see the flames coming off the headers of these cars, indicating the weather is worsening. This is Billy Meyer out of Waco, Texas, known as Waco Willie throughout the drag racing circles. Started his racing career at the age of 16, driving a funny car. He is one of the greats against one of the newcomers, Fuzz Miller out of Austin, Texas. Miller coming on strong this season, driving the Pandemonium car. Got a crew member, Bernie Lewis, in, checking things over. But all of a sudden, here is something going on. They're telling him to shut it off. They're indicating it is raining at the finish line, the shutdown area of the track. It is dry at the starting line, but the rain at the finish line has caused him to halt the racing for the moment. The crowd trying to find some place to go, to find some shelter. At the finish line, they've already found the shelter, and we'll be back to keep track of the rain and the racing at the Spring Nationals.
As of now, you can fly with the Eagles, because now Goodyear has tamed their racing Eagles for the streets as a new line of high-performance radios. Eagle NCT, our ultimate performance radio. Eagle GT, already chosen as the optional radio on the 1981 Corvette. Eagle ST, with performance that belies its price. The Eagles, tamed for the streets, but far from tame.
Get tough. Protect your car with Meguiar's lifetime polysealant system. Tough protection from polymer technology and 50 years of professional car wax experience. Meguiar's, a blend of tough polymers, expensive waxes, and silicones. Get Meguiar's deep shine in one easy step. A shine so tough, we dare to give you a guarantee for the life of your car. Meguiar's in liquid or paste.
The pattern of the day at National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio, thunder and lightning, as 3 separate storm systems have moved through the area since we shut off racing about 2 hours ago. For Fuzz Miller and Billy Meyer, it has been get ready, then shut it off and wait. That's right, 3 times they came to the starting line and were forced to shut it off. The spectators finding other things to do. NHRA officials headed by Competition Director Steve Gibbs, utilizing a helicopter and a jet track dryer to get the track ready. Now it's race time. Billy Meyer and Fuzz Miller have got them lit one more time, and they're going to try it this time. The storm seemed to have moved out of the area, and hopefully the racing can continue for some period of time. Crew Chief Bernie Lewis talking with Fuzz Miller, making sure everything's okay. For Billy Meyer, the professional racer from Waco, Texas, a lot of racetracks have come and gone since he started in this sport at the age of 16. These 2 cars, both from Texas, marking part of the new nitro power that has come to dominate in Top Fuel and funny car racing, and Fuzz Miller with a big upset over Billy Meyer. The time only 6.40 seconds, not that good, but already NHRA crew has got 2 more cars lit on the starting line, and Trip Shoemake and Craig Epperly will be the next pair of cars down the track. Driving the car in the near lane is Craig Epperly, a 24-year-old rookie out of Downey, California, matched up against the old veteran Trip Shoemake. Driving for Johnny Loper out of Phoenix, Arizona, Shoemake, winner of the most recent Southern Nationals down in Atlanta. Steve Evans has had a chance to catch up with Fuzz Miller and ask him about that upset.
Well, in 3 seasons of trying, Fuzz Miller has finally got his 2nd win light in national event competition, but boy, there's a lot of oil, Fuzz.
All it is, there's a blown gasket, should be no problem.
Tell me about the race with Billy Meyer.
Well, I never saw him till the end, just let off the light. Won, and then the oil popped out.
Both cars in the 640s. We expected a little better than that, really.
Well, we were too, but the humidity's been changing along with the air density, and it's been going up and down, and we've been in the car, it rains on you, you get back out. You make so many changes, it's just hard to adjust.
Craig Epperly in the near lane. You see the fiberglass body just rocking from the some 2,000 horsepower. The same for Trip Shoemake in the far lane. And look at Epperly go off the starting line. Trip Shoemake is trying to catch him, but he has got about a 3-car length lead at the finish line. 6.27 seconds for Epperly. His speed over 224 miles an hour. And you can see right off the starting line, it didn't take long for Epperly to establish his dominance in defeating Trip Shoemake.
Craig Epperly down here packing up his helmet, a new face to our Diamond P cameras. Your first ever win light in national event competition. You got to be thrilled.
I was plenty ready for it. You just didn't know what was going to happen out there, you know. You just take a chance, right? You go up there with whatever you think's going to work. That's it.
Who left first off the starting line? Could you tell?
I never did see him, so I don't know.
That's the ones you like when you never see him.
Right.
A very happy Craig Epperly. Meanwhile, back at the starting line, the famed Blue Max, the defending champion, getting started by crewman Fred Miller. Raymond Beadle, the driver, nodding his head, saying, okay, let's go bring the body down. The fiberglass replica body dropping down over that some 2,000 horsepower engine as Raymond Beadle gets ready to defend his Spring Nationals title. He is also the reigning world champion. He'll be racing a former Spring Nationals champ back in 1977. Bob Pickett won all the marbles in Funny Car Eliminator. But this is 1981, and things are a little bit different as Raymond Beadle, one of the dominant forces in funny car racing today. And up in smoke goes Bob Pickett. He heads towards the guardrail as Raymond Beadle streaks to the finish line and wins the race. Bob Pickett, he's okay, but he lost control for a moment as Ray Beadle at 6.20 seconds moves to round number 2. We see here Bob Pickett leaving the starting line. Everything's okay. Then a little tire shake. They lose traction. He heads to the guardrail, but brings it under control.
Raymond, you've been sitting around so much, a week's delay, several delays today. It just keeps raining. Does that bother even a veteran like you? I mean, just get a little edgy?
Well, yeah, we lose a lot of the momentum. You know, we was all ready and qualifying. Everyone was fired up, so naturally you lose a little bit of it when you had to wait a week. Then we got ready today. You get pumped up, then down, up and down. It rained so much and dry, you know, couldn't keep up with it.
Spring Nationals race officials not about ready to waste any dry track time as they've got the next pair of cars, which moves us into the second round of Top Fuel Eliminator, ready to go. The reigning national champion, Terry Kapp, checking with his crewman, looking over his competition. Mark Oswald driving the Oswald, Thomas, and Cattleman entry. got a big break in round number 1 as he defeated the low qualifier. For Terry Kapp, he had the second quickest elapsed time in the first round of competition. Marks him as a big favorite moving here into round number 2. As they come into the staging beams, you see the wing on the front of Kapp's car designed to help it cut through the air just a little bit quicker. As he leaves the starting line, his wheels in the air, and they're close. What a race. Terry Kapp pulls it out at the finish line, 5.98 seconds. His speed, 238 miles an hour. For Mark Oswald, a very close 6.02 at a speed of over 239 miles an hour. But Terry Kapp now with back-to-back 5.98 seconds elapsed times. As he moves into the semis, he's going to be a tough one to beat.
Terry Kapp, another 5 here in round 2. A 5.92 round 1, now a 5.98. The engine dry. You appear to really have it together.
We've got her pretty well handled, or I hope. You know, the only thing that happens is the weight. Sometimes you forget what you're supposed to do, but I think I remembered okay. It worked out okay.
You have to retrain, you have to rain out?
Yeah, we're Canadians. We've got to retrain us every once in a while.
Here's your crew. We'll let you go. Terry Kapp looks to be awfully tough here at the Spring Nationals.
Steve, in addition to being a great drag racer, quite a funny man in his own right, Terry Kapp. Here is the reigning world champion, Shirley Muldowney, against David Pace, driving for the Carroll brothers. And Bones and Kurt Carroll have got one of the best entries they have ever put together in some 20 years of drag racing out of Dallas, Texas. But they'll need every bit of it to beat the lady, Shirley Muldowney. What a start, and David Pace smokes the tires, but he stays in it. He doesn't even lift out of it. David Pace upsetting Shirley Muldowney, 5.92 seconds, over 247 miles an hour. As we watch again, you see there's no difference as they leave the starting line, and then the tires begin to smoke. David Pace drifts out of that straight track, but he doesn't lift out of it at all. He keeps on going, and David Pace wins it.
Shirley Muldowney and her crew congratulating David Pace. Certainly, Shirley has no shame with a 5.98, but 247 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's a pretty short track, but I knew we had to take her all the way or she'd get by us. So, you know, there's no stopping her.
Anytime you can beat Wonder Woman, you've done something.
Yeah.
All right, tell me about the race. Did you see Shirley all the way down the racetrack? Where did you pass her?
I had some trouble about halfway down. The car went sideways to one side and back to the other and got a little loose, and she was right beside me all the way. I hit my manual high speed and the motor picked up and it just moved on her.
Boy, I tell you, we love drag races where neither driver knows who won when they got down here. He says we love that kind too.
Shirley Muldowney, the defending champion, now out of competition. Our next pair, Johnny Abbott in the near lane, Butch Osmond driving for Jim and Allison Lee. This is a brand new car this season for the Lees. They retired this semi-streamliner they had last year, acquired Butch Osmond, who hails from Leavittsburg, Ohio, as their driver. The Lees based in the Plains, Virginia. For Johnny Abbott, he's a 15-year veteran of this sport. He said earlier he's never won an NHRA national title, and that is his main goal at the moment. Utilizing the motorcycle-type racing spoke wheels on the front of both these dragsters, they move very carefully into those light beams stretched across both sides of the track. Those are the staging lights indicating when they are ready to go. At that point, the switch is thrown and the tree goes green. Osmond out with a hole shot, but here comes Abbott. Oh, it's anybody's race at the finish. Butch Osmond wins it, 6.07 seconds. His speed, 231 miles an hour, and just a little bit of an advantage off the starting line pays off as Johnny Abbott ran a quicker elapsed time at 6.03 seconds. Remember, each lane of this track is a separate racetrack as far as clocks and everything go to itself. So Butch Osmond wins it over Johnny Abbott.
Butch Osmond in his first year in Top Fuel Racing picks up a win light over Johnny Abbott. And Dave, we've got another situation where neither driver knew who won when they arrived down here. This is the kind of drag racing you just dream about. You didn't know.
No, I didn't know at all. He carried the front wheels when I left the starting line, and I didn't see him until coming in the lights, and I didn't know who won.
You take a chance and just flat-footed even with the front wheels off the ground?
Just held on for dear life. That's the way it is, trying to make some money.
Well, you love this Top Fuel Racing, don't you?
It's neat. It's neat.
Okay, we'll let you go.
Butch Osmond formerly driving his own car in alcohol dragster competition, now at the wheel of the Lees machine. This is Gary Beck, trying to get back on the winner's trail. He won this race way back in 1975 and would like nothing better than to repeat here in 1981. He's racing against a former competition eliminator racer who also came up through the ranks, first in competition, then alcohol dragster, now with one of the top quality machines in the sport, Jim Head from Sunbury, Ohio. Gary Beck, driving for Larry Minor, based out of El Toro, California, has been in a bit of a slump. Let's see if he can overcome it here against Jim Head. Head beginning to drift towards the center line. He has to lift out of it, and Gary Beck is not headed at the finish at all. 6.09, 213 miles an hour. Back in Shirley Muldowney pit area, Steve Evans has a chance to talk with the defending champion.
Even in defeat, this lady can smile, and well, she should. She's won 4 out of the last 5 national events she's entered. Been a long time, as your chief mechanic pointed out, since you've been outrun like that, though.
It's been a long time, at least a couple seasons since someone's actually drove around me.
He drove around you, you were ahead all the way down?
I was ahead until about, I'd say about 20 feet before the first ET light, and then I watched him. I couldn't believe what was happening. And it was probably the greatest drag race I've ever had.
I could tell down there both of you were just elated. Your crew was as happy as if they'd won because they were in such a good drag race, and there's no excuses in a deal like that for anybody.
That's right. I didn't make any mistakes, and I don't think we did. The guy just, we think he took a shot at it because he didn't really have anything to lose. So good luck to him, really.
We'll see you on down the road.
That's it. It's another week, another race.
Shirley Muldowney, 2-time Top Fuel World Champion. Great lady.
A former world champion, Gary Beck, packs his chute to head back to the pits as the skies continue to threaten here at the Spring Nationals.
Suzuki, the maker of motorcycles, would like you to think of an economy car and a sports car. When you think of this 1981 GS 250, it offers high gas mileage like an economy car and high performance like a sports car. Of course, when it comes to high price, the GS 250 is like nothing on 4 wheels. See for yourself at your Suzuki dealer.
If one plug goes wrong in an 8-cylinder car, you've still got 7 left to pull you along. But if one goes wrong in a 4-cylinder car, you've got problems. Autolite spark plugs are made for small engines. They've got a fused glass seal in here to give you full power, and a wide heat range that helps stop misfiring and fouling at low speeds. If you have a small car, why not get a plug made for small engines? Autolite.
National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio. We might as well be underwater for the amount of rain that has fallen here today, and it continues throughout the afternoon and early evening hours. The spectators very patient, attempting to find whatever cover possible. Most of the time, they're not very successful at staying dry, but they're having a good time. The heavy rains have played havoc with some of Diamond P Sports' camera equipment. For the NHRA and National Trail track officials, it's a period of waiting, maybe wishing this day had never happened, but waiting they are until finally the dry track gets here, but the skies are dark. The second round of funny car eliminations finds Tom Hoover matched up against Roy Harris. In round number 2 of funny car, Tom Hoover wins it a fine 6.17 second elapsed time, his speed 224 miles an hour. Craig Epperly, the rookie driver, against young Tom Anderson. It's Epperly winning 6.35 at 227 miles an hour. Buzz Miller against John Collins. Miller, an up-and-coming racer. John Collins, a veteran, and he used all of his experience to win. 6.31 seconds, 215 miles an hour his speed. And the defending champion, Raymond Beadle, against Kenny Bernstein, with Raymond Beadle winning it with an outstanding 6.15 second elapsed time. His speed over 235 miles an hour. In the semifinals, there are 4 cars remaining in Funny Car Eliminator. It is Raymond Beadle against Tom Hoover, the first pair in the semifinals. Again, Raymond Beadle, a 6.15 second elapsed time. In the final pair in the semifinals to find out who will race the defending champion, Craig Epperly defeats John Collins, 6.29 seconds at 210 miles an hour, so a rookie is in the finals of Funny Car Eliminator. Semifinal racing in Top Fuel Eliminator. 4 cars remain in this category of racing. The first pair, Terry Kapp against Gary Beck. Kapp very consistent in the 5s, but Gary Beck prevailing here at 6.11 seconds, 220 miles an hour. The remaining 2 cars, David Pace from Texas, Butch Osmond, the rookie driver for Jim and Allison Lee, and it is Osmond in the final to race against Gary Beck. In the Pro Stock Eliminator final round, a matchup that has been seen so many times, the Ford of Bob Glidden against the Chevrolet of Lee Shepard, driving for Rare and Morrison. And you see Bob Glidden, the winner, taking home his 34th event victory title, as he has won once again Pro Stock Eliminator, taking home his third Spring Nationals win and some $10,000 in cash from the red lighting Lee Shepard. Our congratulations to the Sportsman Eliminator champions here at the Spring Nationals, as they too had a tough day battling all the rain. We're just about ready to go for the funny car final, and this is the rookie driver Craig Epperly getting ready for the finals at the Spring Nationals.
That's Gary Kincannon with his favorite rolls. Gary has a lot of rolls in Bentleys, $10 million worth. There's only one wax Gary will use on his priceless collection, Meguiar's. Meguiar's is the brand used by car care professionals. With a $5,000 paint job to protect, Gary won't take a chance on anything but Meguiar's. Even for a car that isn't a Rolls, get the car wax of the professionals, Meguiar's, at these and other fine stores.
How do you get performance on the road?
BMW and a Riva. Datsun and a Riva. Fiat and a Riva.
Mazda and a Riva. Saab and a Riva. Now an all-season radio from Goodyear for import owners. Steel-belted Arriva radios in sizes for almost every import car on the road. Even its footprint tells you it's different. How do you get the performance you want?
With a showstopper like a Riva. A Riva, what a name.
Arriva, only from Goodyear.
We're ready for the finals in Funny Car Eliminator at the Spring Nationals, and a tip of the hat to the Diamond P Sports technical crew for getting all of our cameras back operating so we can bring you full coverage of this exciting final. And what a race. This is the 24-year-old rookie driving Don Tate's superstar car. Craig Epperly out of Downey, California has got his work cut out for him. He is running against the defending champion, the reigning two-time world champion, and considered by many the toughest funny car racer in the business today, Raymond Beadle, the Blue Max. It is Epperly in the far lane, the Blue Max in the near lane. Absolutely pitch black skies, the lights on the racetrack sufficient for safe racing, and the Christmas tree shines brilliant with a green light as Epperly with a bit of a hole shot. And they're side by side, tremendous race at the finish, and Craig Epperly pulls off the upset of the meet. For Don Tate, his car owner, a tremendous win for Craig Epperly, the rookie driver. Raymond Beadle, the defending champion, down to defeat.
I cannot remember, we were just talking, all of us down here, cannot remember since 1972, Gary Beck, a rookie driver winning a national event.
Oh,
Are you speechless?
I won't know till tomorrow. It's plenty ready, though.
Tell me about the starting line.
Oh, you never know, right? I just did my own thing up there, and, well, Beadle's plenty tough. The record speaks for itself. Just who gets there first, right?
Did you ever see the Blue Max on the way down the
No, I
racer?
never did. Right about the last light, I seen him go around me, but I figured it was all over after that.
A special thank you goes to Dale Armstrong and his crew for providing the lighting for Steve Evans' interview area down at the end of the racetrack. We'll be taking a look at the winner of this race in just a moment. It is Butch Osmond driving for Jim and Allison Lee, a rookie in Top Fuel Racing, against the crafty veteran Gary Beck driving for Larry Minor. Beck finally coming into the staging beams here in the near lane. A good start by both cars, and it is Butch Osmond drifting towards the center line. He shuts it off, and Gary Beck wins the race. A very happy crew because it's been a long time coming for Beck, as he has had a dry spell in the Winner's Circle event. But here at the Spring Nationals, Gary Beck, your 1981 Top Fuel Eliminator champion. For Butch Osmond, a very fine showing at the wheel of Jim and Allison Lee's Top Fuel dragster, but Gary Beck, your champion.
It's been since 1974 that Gary Beck visited the Spring Nationals Winner's Circle. It's got to feel good, especially for Old Blue. It's the last time down the racetrack and goes out in the blaze of the wind light.
Yeah, this was great. It was a good race for us. Worked real hard for it, and you know we were here for a week along with everybody else, and we're happy. It's been a good race car for us, and it's done well. You know.
It looked at the very start like Osmond was going to be quite a challenge. He left very hard.
Yeah, he leaves. I figured out how he leaves so quick, because he leaves pretty hard has the RPM up like a pro stocker, you know, and you get a good reaction time that way. But we maintained with him, and it was a good race.
It was a good race, and that was the last one for Gary Beck's Top Fuel dragster. It carried him to the champion's title here at the Spring Nationals. Craig Epperly, the rookie in funny car, with a big upset. And in Pro Stock, for his 34th event victory, Bob Glidden the winner. Well, as the moon is setting normally as the sun would, we're calling a halt to the day's racing at the Spring Nationals.
How do you get good gas mileage? Citation and Arriva.
Toyota and Arriva.
Lynx and Arriva.
Datsun and Arriva.
Reliant and Arriva.
Goodyear Arriva. An all-season radio. Built with a special rubber compound. Designed for traction and to help you save gas. Even its footprint tells you it's different. How do you get good gas mileage?
Arriva and 55 miles an hour.
Arriva, only from Goodyear.
In today's economy, motorcycles never look better. For example, a gas-saving 4-stroke engine, easy riding suspension, and front disc brake. All are standard on Suzuki's low-priced GS 450. So you see, the economy never looked better. The new GS 450. Another great performer from Suzuki.
We hope you've enjoyed all the action of this incredible Spring Nationals Championships. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClelland in Columbus, Ohio, saying so long for now. The 1981 Spring Nationals has been brought to you by Suzuki, the Performer. See the full line of Suzuki motorcycles at your local Suzuki dealer. And by Fram, makers of oil, air, and fuel filters, windshield wipers, and Autolite spark plugs. And by Goodyear Eagle high-performance radials. The Racing Eagles Goodyear tamed for the street. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by Datsun. Own the new Datsun Turbo 280ZX and you own the road. Goes from 0 to 50 in 5.1 seconds. Now that's awesome and then some. And by Brute. Today's your Brute day. Great days seem to happen more often when you're wearing Brute by Fabergé. After shave, after shower, after anything, Brute by Fabergé. Additional consideration provided for and a fee paid by...
I'm very handy thanks to 3-in-1 oil.
It fights rust.
Lubricate.
Stop squeaks.
3-in-1 oil is so easy, even you guys can use it. I do home repairs with plastic wood. I fixed my chair, molded my baseboard, built holes in my wall. Plastic wood is so easy, even you guys can use it.
And by Datsun. Own the new Datsun Turbo 280ZX and you own the road. Goes from 0 to 50 in 5.1 seconds. Now that's awesome. And then some. The executive producer of Diamond P Sports is Harvey Palish, produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Coverage of the 1981 National Hot Rod Association Spring Nationals is a Diamond P Sports presentation.